right. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today, Wednesday. What is it? These days just be going by, the 13th. Man, I appreciate the support as always. Tonight's discussion is very, very near to probably a lot of people. Definitely myself, because transportation has been one of those industries that, they give a second chance. I'm just very grateful to be in this industry. Just people in my personal life. One of my most favorite people in this world, my uncle, definitely got a second chance in this industry, and now he's thriving. So this topic is very special to me. We did just have our special guest join on stage. Hey, Miss Jerri, how you doing today?
Hey, good evening. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm feeling blessed, ma'am. Thank you so much for asking, and thank you for joining us. Everybody, you guys, you hear from me every single week. I'm Jory Myers, based out of Atlanta, Georgia, the owner of Atlanta Dispatch, LLC. But today's a little bit different. We don't really cover the recruiting side of transportation too much. And Miss Jerri, do you mind introducing yourself and letting us know, what you do, your company and all that kind of good stuff?
Absolutely. And just first off, thank you so much for welcoming me to your platform. I am honored to be here and speak in front of your audience. Thank you so much.
No doubt. You're definitely welcome. So here you go. There you go.
I appreciate it. So my name is Mrs Jerri. It's Jerri Banks. Mrs Jerri is just kind of what has kind of followed me into the industry. My husband and I have an AAU basketball program in Houston, Texas, called the Houston D1 Hornets, where we teach.
Like we lost Miss Jerri for a second, but it looks like she was about to give us some good information about what she got going on that A1, on that AA team. Miss Jerri.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, I think we lost you for a little bit, but we're happy to have you back. Basically,
okay.
To the point of you saying that you and your husband have the AAU basketball team and that you teach, and then you went out.
Yes. So we teach the kids, everything from compassion to community service. And we use basketball as the vessel on how we teach the kids. And so that Miss Jerri kind of just, stemmed from the kids and moved over into trucking, because that's what they call me in the basketball world. And so I own a full service truck driver recruiting agency. It started in 2017 is when I started the agency. Let me back up a little bit and kind of tell a little bit about my background. So I have over 24 years of aviation experience. So my experience stems in commercial and private aviation. The majority of it is in private aviation. I worked with a private company, privately held company called Universal Weather and Aviation. And so I was I came in entry level, but, I'm a go-getter. So I moved all the way up to the senior leadership team. And I retired from them in 2017. 2017, I retired at 40, and it was a very high stress, high stakes environment. As you can imagine, our clients, they flew in multi-million-dollar aircraft. And everything had to be perfect. It had to be flawless. My team was, I have clients in Europe, Asia, Africa. So the majority of the time I was at work on overnights. And so we didn't close. Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, holidays, birthdays, it didn't matter. So I lost a lot from a family perspective. I lost a lot as I was climbing up the ladder. And one day I sat down with my husband and I was like, hey, I think I've had enough of this. I've gotten as far as I want to go. I don't have a plan, but please support me. I'll just jump head into the basketball world. And that's what I did in 2017. They had a retirement party for me, and at 40, I retired. And then shortly thereafter, I met a really good friend of mine who introduced me to truck driver recruiting, and I've kind of been rocking and rolling ever since.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. But quick question: are you out here recruiting those kids too for your team? Because I know how that go. My wife, her whole family, they're a basketball family. The dad, he's been coaching AAU. Brother played college ball, so I know that y'all be folks. So
yeah.
Is that how you got your start?
No, basketball is truly a lifestyle. Like if you're in that world, man, you know that it's like a whole other world. But no, I have 6 kids, 5 boys and 1 girl. And so my oldest is 26. And so we kind of started when they were younger, just to kind of keep them busy. And then the neighborhood kids kind of started, playing with them. And so we just kind of developed our own program. And so it just kind of built on from there. We've got like over 60 kids right now in the program. It's year round.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, wishing you guys much more success with that, because, that becomes very family oriented. You know those kids for the rest of their lives, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of them have graduated and gone on, and they still come out to help with the younger kids that are coming up. So yeah, it is truly a family environment, family lifestyle.
Oh, yes, ma'am. All right. So you said that your recruiting company was established in 2017. Who are the folks that make up your staff? Like, are they folks that you've just met along the years, or is it people more personal?
Yes. So the majority of my recruiters are family. So the face of my team, it's my daughter, Julie. And she is a full-time student and she always says the Texas Southern University.
Okay.
And so she's been working in the company since she was I think a junior, maybe a sophomore or junior in high school. And so she would work half day and then go to school. And so she's very deeply involved in the operation. And then my niece, her name is Ray. And so she's very heavily in the operation. And so they handle a lot of our client services, our driver relations, onboarding, things like that. And then I also have my nephew, and he has a whole staff, and another niece and my cousin. So like I have a huge recruiting team, like that's internally family. And then I have some recruiters that we have an online course. So our online course is more to start your own recruiter agency. So you're not particularly working up under us, which I have that option, to use our customers and clients and things like that. But if you can if you want to, but if you don't, that recruiting course that we have online, it's almost I call it a recruiting business in a box. Pretty much it's from start to finish. You can start your own recruiting agency and go out there. But a lot of the recruiters tend to kind of use our clients and customers that we have. So I have recruiters all over.
Oh, nice. And the reason why I wanted to ask about the family aspects, because I had the pleasure of meeting all of y'all at the same time. You, baby girl, Ray, all at the She Trucking Expo. And I know that I saw how, important they were to the team. So I definitely wanted to get them a shout out. And, also let folks know that, you probably got some of the hardest workers right there in your household. So
absolutely.
Your brand, your business, don't think you got to look too far away. My brother, he's older than me. I've probably learned so much in my life from this guy that I'm still asking him questions because I know, I know that he can help me out with that kind of stuff. So just a little, shout out to, these family businesses, how you can like change your legacy and your family's socioeconomic background status, just by helping each other out. So
Absolutely. That's a great point. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Jalen, who is our social media manager. He's my son. That's my oldest son. But he handles everything social media, all of our editing and videos and posts. And he follows me wherever we are. Like we have a conference coming up in St. Louis and like he'll be following me around.
Okay,
But
okay.
yeah. So it's awesome. It's awesome to have, them on the team because they're learning so much and they'll be able to take it on into whatever, field that they decide to, or if they decide to continue the family recruiting business.
Oh, I hear you. All right. Well, look, I have so many questions about just recruiting as a whole. But
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, when it came down to it, you met somebody who introduced you to the industry, and you had to decide whether or not you wanted to just hear what they had to say and leave it there, or keep going. And you decided to keep going. So I wanted to know, what was that first experience like when you were basically trying to get your first truck client, your first driver client
Mm-hmm.
signed on to somebody. What was that situation like?
It was, and I've explained this before. I've described this before. It was like drinking water from a fire hose. Like there was so much to learn and so much to just kind of take in the moment. And I spent months in the office. Her name is Camille. Her company's Rig on Wheels. And she really, really just kind of poured into me all of her knowledge and expertise. But taking on that first client, it was definitely a learning experience. And I'm a process and procedures person. So I've kind of just taken that and built upon everything that I've learned in the beginning.
Okay. Ms. Jerry, I didn't know if you went out, but I just wanted to step in and say thank you for that response. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So now that you are years beyond that very first experience of having to recruit somebody, now you as a systems and process person have been able to pour into your own business and structure up your own business.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those key things that somebody needs to keep in mind when they're trying to locate drivers? And let's just answer this from trying to locate drivers on the internet.
I really think that we started off using job boards, and that was maybe the first 2 years. Job boards such as your ZipRecruiter. Oh my God. And we spent so much money on ZipRecruiter. It got to be where it was like, $2,000-$3,000 a month. And over the years, I think they made some adjustments to their algorithms and them Indeed as well. I don't want to leave them out, but they made some adjustments to their algorithms, and it just isn't what it once was. I was good with spending that kind of money with the caliber and quality of drivers that we were getting initially. But then, things switched up, and, we almost had to pivot in how we recruited drivers. And with that pivot came social media. So we spent a lot of time during COVID. COVID was like a total transformation for life on the road recruiting. And so we spent a lot of time transforming how we recruited drivers, how we found our drivers, what we did once we found them as well. But the big pivot was digging deep into social media, really learning the algorithms, really understanding how to position our business and present ourselves, because we have a personality. Everybody has a personality. Every company has a personality. You have a culture. And so we established we created digital real estate. That's essentially what we did. We created digital real estate on Instagram, digital real estate on YouTube. We have a huge platform on YouTube, and I've got this persona on YouTube to the drivers, and I go live with them most every evening. But I've got this persona as their auntie or their mom, or, something like that. And so that has enabled us to, that presence, that one presence on social media, that part of social media has enabled me to totally step away from ad spend. All of my leads that we get in driver wise is free.
Oh, that is awesome. And the fact is, I love some of the words that you use right there. Everybody knows that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and how that just completely, halted a lot of people's lives. Everything that they knew to be normal, they had to stop. They had to think and pivot. They had to pivot to see what's next. And the fact that, you were able to utilize that huge change in our, just the way people are operating to benefit you, to go from spending thousands of dollars a month in advertising to next to nothing, because you took control of using social media. I think that right there is, just game in itself for people, because I get that question all the time of, hey, Jory, how can I go out here and get drivers, not necessarily to, get them to go work for one of the big dogs or, some of these other fleet owners. Just how can I get drivers to, become my dispatch clients and things of that nature.
Right.
And I feel as though that speaks directly to it. You can connect to people directly via these social media platforms. And, I feel like my advice is kind of like leaning towards either in person or, leveraging the platforms you have right now. So I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because somebody needed to hear that. Some fleet owner needs to hear that, but it's not necessarily just about getting, a driver's attention. There's also like a whole like recruiting process, like, not even, it's a screening process, because not everybody has a CDL is, qualified to operate, somebody's company to the standard that they want to. So like, do you have like a checklist of things that you use to screen folks? Like what type of indicators are on your checklist?
So I don't call it a phone script or a checklist. It's I guess it's more aligned with the checklist, but it's a qualifying questions. And so we created.
Oh, I like it.
Yes. We created what I call the climb method. And actually over the next few days, I've already filmed some video, but over the next few days, we're going to be sharing some of the components of that. But it's a methodology, a framework that I created, and it gives the recruiters a guideline to go off of. And so the C is connect, conversate, and qualify. And so basically in that first moment that our conversation that you're having with that driver, you want to connect with them on the human level. You really want to understand who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, why they're looking for something new. And so there's a list of questions that I ask. And some of my first questions that I'm asking are, who are you working for right now? Or are you working for anyone? And I might phrase my questions in several different ways, because there's some times that, drivers are on BS. I do have to put that out there. And so, but I'm going to get to the bottom of it. So my kids call me Law and Order, because I will get to the bottom of whatever the situation is and really, truly understand it. And so then the drivers understand that I cannot help you unless I understand your situation. And so the first question, like I said, I will ask is, are you running for anyone right now? And it can go two ways. If they're running for someone, then I want to know well, why are you looking? What's going on? What's not working over there? Is your pay low? Like, I'm really trying to understand, like, why are you out here, beating the streets looking for something else if you got something already? Okay, that's my first question. And if they say, no, I don't have anything, I'm not working for anybody right now, then I want to know why. I want to know what happened. I want to know why you left. I want to know, when did you leave? I want to know if you were terminated for safety. Like, look, I'm going to dig until I get down to the bottom of it.
And look, they don't even know that they can't hide anything from you, because they don't know you got these kids. And you done seen everything in the book. You know how to get down to that answer. So
yes.
So they don't stand a chance hiding any of that information. It's coming out. So
absolutely.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. And being that it is a pandemic, and quote unquote, there is a shortage of truck drivers. I don't really agree with that, just because one of our brothers, Adam Wingfield, he kind of like broke it down a little bit different. Said, it's not that it's a shortage. People still have the ability to get these CDL license. It's the fact that retention is just so low that it seems as though there's a shortage, because there's just so many drivers, always leaving their company. So,
yeah.
My bad. Go ahead. That inspires something.
No.
I want to hear it.
Man, yes, it did. And no, I agree 110% with Adam. And I explain that to carriers, that when they want us to source a driver for them, the very first question that they ask is, okay, so if I pay you this money, how long do you guarantee that the driver is going to stay with me? And here's my answer to that. I'm going to guarantee that the driver stays with you as a courtesy. Okay, this is only as a courtesy. I'm going to guarantee that they stay with you for 30 days. And if that driver leaves due to no fault of the company, because I'm in contact with my drivers, I'm really understanding like what the situation is. And we'll talk about the types of drivers that we hire in just a second. But if that driver leaves within 30 days, then at no fault of the carrier, then I will replace that driver at no additional charge. But here's what I tell them. I am not a part of your retention team. If you want me to be on your retention team, then you got to put me on your payroll. And then I'll work with you to retain your drivers and teach you some tactics and tools and skills that you need to know to be able to return your drivers. But until you put me on your retention team, I don't know what that looks like, what your operation looks like. I'm only on the outside. And so when I break it down like that, carriers tend to understand it a little bit better.
Oh, yeah. It makes perfect sense after that. You're going to have to pay me for this.
Put me on payroll.
Because what you're basically saying is I'm on retainer to, give you all the tricks and tips and all these things on an ongoing basis. So, no, that makes complete sense. They got to pay for the time if they're wanting that extended, consultation. Okay. So look, with it, I still have to use the verbiage, quote unquote, driver shortage. Do you feel as though that's impacted your company and your business for the better or for the worse?
I would say for the better, and here's why. Carriers need to understand that drivers are always willing to listen. They may not go over to another company. They may not pull the trigger, but they're always going to listen. And so as recruiters, I just need that opportunity. I just need that opportunity to get on the phone with you, to talk to you about what I potentially have available that may work for you. Essentially, recruiters are we're salesmen without the actual product. The product is the job that we have. And so we have to know, as a recruiter, you have to know how to close. And if I get that driver on the phone and we're talking about this job, they're gonna bite. They're gonna go over to it. Now, I'm ensuring though, and that's that connecting and conversate and qualify. I'm ensuring during that time period, and the L is the listen, but I'm ensuring during those two steps that it's what they want. It's what works for them. And so we recruiters, I recruit for over 60 different carriers. So I've got something that works for you and your family. Now, on the other hand of that, and I don't know if you want to get into it this early into the interview, but on the other hand of that driver shortage, we kind of pivoted our business model after the FMCSA Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse was implemented in January of 2020. About 6 months after it was implemented, I saw the need and I just started getting all these calls from drivers who were coming out of this had violations in the clearinghouse. And my heart went out to help them. They were desperate. And so I told my team, I said, y'all, we got to figure out a way to do something because, if the clearinghouse gives them a second chance, we should be able to help them as well. And so we kind of pivoted and we specialize in, we have a whole special division that just specializes in helping drivers get a second chance after a violation in the clearinghouse. And so there's your other driver shortage. That's the other part of the driver shortage. That's like the big elephant in the room that nobody's even talking about in the industry, but probably me.
Right. And all right, so look, let's just mosey into that side of the conversation now. So you say that on January 6th of 2020, there was something that was put into play that kind of changed trucking called the Clearinghouse. Let's talk about the Clearinghouse. What was the logic behind establishing the Clearinghouse from your perspective?
Right. So before the clearinghouse was implemented, the driver could go to company A, all right, and fail a drug screen or refuse to take the drug screen. And then that company would just kind of, push him off to the side or get him out their face. Okay, you failed the drug screen. We don't want to deal with you anymore. And then that same driver could, 2 days later, go down to the company down the street, company B, and take the same drug screen and fail it. And company B wouldn't know. There's no talking to each other. There was no talking to each other before the clearinghouse. And so when the clearinghouse was implemented January 6, 2020, it was one thing it did was it cleared house. Okay. The other thing that it did was it created checks and balances for carriers to be able to see when a driver has had a violation in the clearinghouse. And so what a violation consisted of course, a positive drug or alcohol test, a refusal of a drug or alcohol test. And then the third way was a violation, an actual knowledge violation. And so actual knowledge means a DUI, they got a ticket for DUI, DWI, or the owner saw them. It was direct observation. They saw them with something in their possession. And so that's considered actual knowledge. So those are the three ways that a driver could get a violation.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for explaining that, because for a little while, I ain't gonna lie, that was new to me. I was like, people keep saying this word clearinghouse, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I was like, did somebody win something? Because the only thing I knew was publishers.
Clearinghouse. Yeah.
That's the only thing I knew. And then it was always in some negative connotation. I'm like, so what is this?
Well, you're not winning for sure. If you come into me, you haven't won. All right, you looking for a job. You looking to win a job after all of that. But yeah. So that was the clearinghouse, and that was started January the 6th, 2020.
Okay. All right. And so let's just segue a little bit to why is this so important to you personally? Like second chances. Why is I kind of opened the story or at least the discussion today with one of the most influential people in my life, my uncle. This guy's taught me all kind of things of what to do and what not to do based on his experiences, his life, and I know that he's gotten a second chance by being in logistics as a driver. He's a truck driver now, and he's doing pretty good for himself. Why is second chances a huge thing for you?
So I've probably only told this story publicly once to drivers on my YouTube. But so back in 2016, and this is probably like the pivotal, how you have a pivotal adjustment or a path change in your life. This was the thing for me. And so I have 6 kids, 5 boys and 1 girl. It was December of 2016. And so my son had just graduated that May or in the spring. And he was in college. This is my next to the oldest son. He's 24 now, I think. I got a lot of kids, y'all. So he had graduated high school, and he had was going to the community college. Come from an upper middle class family, we worked really hard. We did a lot in the community, and very well known in our community as well. And he got with some kids who, just weren't, we didn't know them. They didn't come and eat dinners at at our house. They weren't playing basketball in the cul-de-sac and, stuff like that. And so I got a call at work one day, and all I heard was, the police have your house surrounded. And I'm like, oh my God. And I worked like 45 minutes. I worked in Clear Lake, which is on the south side of Houston. And we lived on the north into Houston in spring. And I got that call, and I got over there in seemed like 10 minutes. But yeah, they did. They had our house surrounded. They had he was 12. They had my 12-year-old in the back of the police car. And come to find out, they had, he came home from school, had walked home from the bus. And they asked, how do you get in the house? The police asked, how do you get in the house when nobody's home? And so he said, I just let the garage up. And so he let the garage up for him, and they stormed the house. But who they were looking for was my then 18-year-old. And he had got with this group of guys, and they had robbed a cash store. And he was the getaway driver because he had the car. And so during that whole thing, it took over a year, maybe 2 years, for us to get through that whole process. A couple years, thousands and thousands of dollars. He's on probation now for it. He did not serve time. But what saved him from actually serving time in that was our family lawyer had us put together this character witness book. Okay. And what it showed was like him from birth all the way up until then. He had never been in trouble. We got letters from his counselors, from his teachers, his basketball coaches, his football coaches, the church, family, friends. And we put that together, and everybody was there and supported him through this. And, like I said, it changed the trajectory of my entire life. That was really the reason why I retired from corporate America, because I felt like the rest of the kids needed me in the house to be there more. And so that whole second chance thing, I believe in that. He got a second chance, and today he's probably the hardest worker at his job. He didn't have a kid then. My grandson he'll be 2 next year in January. And He has a kid now. He's the best dad that I've ever seen. He got a whole new lease on life, and that second chance was what he needed to like snap the hell out of whatever path he was about to go down.
Well, Miss Jerri, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing. I bet everybody that has had the opportunity to hear you say that knows how personal this is for you now, and why this is not just a job, that this is way more. This is, I mean, I'm just going to use the words that you might even say. This is ministry in a way.
Yes.
This is mission.
Yes.
So I wanted that to be conveyed to folks, because this is a part of trucking that people don't really talk about too much. You know, the people who have made mistakes. You know, folks make mistakes. People make mistakes every single day, and just some people get caught, some people don't. And you know, it's just grace. It's just grace, the grace of God to forgive. And you know, people need to be forgiven. So that's I wanted to bring that up, and not to try to preach or anything, but that's just my personal opinion, because you know, I just know that I've been extended so much grace in my life that it's kind of rude for me not to do it to other people.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. No, same here. And one of the things that I tell every driver that calls me, because
okay. So look, something. Okay, we got you back. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know what happened, but yeah, they'll get my team on the phone, and then they'll end up asking like, "Where's Miss Jerri? I want to talk to Miss Jerri." And I'm like, "Okay, let's talk." But I'll tell it a real one thing that I'm like extremely proud of that happened today, like just not too long before I got on the Clubhouse. And so Ray was on the phone with this driver, and then Julie was talking to a driver. And both of them said that they heard about us from the Clearinghouse. They had been calling the Clearinghouse trying to get through to somebody. They finally talked to somebody, and they said, you know, they were asking questions and stuff like that. And they said, go to YouTube, look for Life on the Road Recruiting, because I think they're helping people get jobs. And like that is like this literally just happened the last couple of hours. And I told my team, like, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Wow. Nah, that's big dog status right there.
You
got the agency, the regulatory agency over here, you know, telling people to go check you guys out. Nah, congratulations. That oh man, that's what's up.
Yes. I'm very proud of that. I mean, like, it makes the long nights and the long weekends, the sleepless nights, it makes it all worthwhile. It really does. Stuff like that.
Wow. Okay. So look, you know, if y'all didn't hear that, if y'all ever hear folks who are talking about wanting to get another, you know, CDL job, but maybe they made a mistake, please go ahead and send them to, what was that YouTube again?
It's Life on the Road Recruiting. Life on the Road Recruiting is a YouTube channel.
Okay. Yeah. Now that's I'm so happy that you shared that, because that's, like I said, that's big time. That's huge. That's all you can really ask for when it comes to you know, doing business, is word of mouth marketing is the purest form. So if somebody has a little bit of, you know, a title behind their, you know, what they're doing, oh, that's even better. So no, that's dope.
Definitely dope. A couple of things I do need to talk about. The band that was recently released. I don't know if you want me to go into that.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so that just came out October the 6th. And so the long-term plan for the Clearinghouse was always to incorporate the SDLAs, the state driver license agencies, into knowing what the Clearinghouse, what the status of a driver's Clearinghouse profile is. And so right now, well, December 2019, they had extended the time for the state driver license agencies to get their technology, their infrastructure, their systems in place with the clearinghouse so that they can talk to each other. So they had extended that in December, before the clearinghouse even came out. They had extended that to 2023. January of 2023 is when they were that was gonna like their deadline. Okay. And so just last week, the clearinghouse is kind of like push that up. Okay. And they're giving them till November 18th of 2024 to like fully comply. All right. But now today, well, actually, I think it takes place it goes into effect, November the 8th. But now they can essentially go into the clearinghouse and look at a driver's clearinghouse status. And if it's prohibited, they can deny them from getting their license renewed. They can deny a commercial learner's permit holder from upgrading to a CDL. So they can essentially deny anything. Okay. When it comes to the commercial learner's permit and the commercial driver's license, if you have a violation in the clearinghouse, until, and they can even downgrade it as well, until you go through the return to duty process. And so we help drivers on the other side of that return to duty process. But right now, almost 90,000 drivers, actually, it's a little over 90,000 because the numbers haven't been released yet for September. But 90,000 drivers, let's just say, have had a violation in the clearinghouse. And of those 90,000, 52, almost 53,000 have not gone through that process. And it's a mix of a lot of reasons why they haven't. Some of them, a lot of drivers live paycheck to paycheck, and some of them don't have that money. It could be $500 for to go through that process, up to like $2,000. And so some drivers don't have the funds to actually go through it. Some of them don't even know, when they get a violation, they just leave trucking. I've had drivers tell me, Mrs Jerri, I just went to go be a claims adjuster because I didn't think I would have another opportunity to get in the truck again after that happened. And so our mission is to educate the driver that there is a second chance out there for them. And also to educate the carrier so that they understand how to compliantly hire these drivers and how to understand, understand the steps that they need to take to be what the FMCSA calls a sponsor company.
Okay. So, all right. So it looks like both sides have some steps. You got the carrier if they want to be a sponsor company, but you also have the driver that is looking to return to duty. Would you say that is it easy checklist or easy step by step? And something you already have enumerated of all the different steps that you can kind of rattle off, or is it more involved?
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely rattle them off in my sleep.
Okay.
But so the first step is for the driver to designate a SAP. Okay. And with 90,000 drivers out there, and this is one of the things we educate on, is the SAP scams are real. There's people out here taking advantage of the situation.
What?
And yeah, man. There's some real scams out here. They're scamming the drivers. And so one of the things that we talk about on our platform is do your research on your SAP, because that's going to be they're going to be the one that's kind of with you throughout that process for 5 years, because this violation stays in your clearinghouse for 5 years. It does. And so, yeah, SAPs are out here. I had a driver reach out to us. We had to help him put down on paper like what he needed to say to the clearinghouse, because the SAP had, essentially took his money and now he can't get a hold of them. It's like they're not there. They don't exist anymore. And so the SAP and the carrier have to communicate paperwork wise, because the driver can't come to the company and say, oh yeah, I finished I finished it, I have to do this many drug screens. And so the SAP and the company has to communicate. And so step one is to designate a SAP.
And what does SAP stand for again?
It stands for Substance Abuse Professional. Okay. And it's the Substance Abuse Program. I just kind of gave it my own name. I call it SAP Program. But yeah, it's Substance Abuse Professional. And that Substance Abuse Professional, which is a counselor, they're certified, have to be certified by the DOT and FMCSA. And so they have to go through this substance abuse program, and that's essentially what it is. And so then the steps 2, 3, and 4 are handled by the SAP. The SAP does everything internally. And so basically what the SAP does is they do a full evaluation, so to speak. They kind of like talk to the driver. I'm not a SAP. I'm not a professional, a SAP professional. So I don't know like how that conversation goes. But I've connected with many SAPs and I've, done my research on the whole process. But essentially what they do is they evaluate the driver. They determine if this is habitual, if they're an abuser, if this is something over years. And then from that determination, that evaluation, they determine whether what the driver's course of treatment is. And so that course of treatment could be a 4-hour training video, or it could be a 4-week drive to the AA meeting, type situation. And so once they do that, complete all the necessary, courses or meetings or whatever is prescribed to them, then the next thing is to take a return to duty test, and it must be negative. Okay. And then from there, that's the test with the SAP. So they do a test with the SAP, and then they're able to the SAP signs off on everything, and then they're able to go out and start looking for work. That's when the FMCSA says, okay, you've met all of our requirements then with regards to the SAP. Now the next step is to go find a sponsor company that will sponsor you. And it's, to me, I call it the criminal justice system of trucking, because after they, after they go through that SAP professional, then they have to get that sponsor company who is essentially like their probation officer, because they have to, the FMCSA says that they have to do a minimum of 6 random drug screens, over the course of 12 months. That's the minimum. I have a SAP out of Mississippi who says he wants his driver to do 8 over the course of a year for 5 years. So it just varies by the SAP on what they prescribe. But that carrier is essentially saying we'll ensure that that driver does those follow-up testings. And every test, after you get into a violation, every test is observed. Somebody is watching you pee every single time.
Oh, wow, man. Well, that's a lot to take in, especially, the fact that it is so up to the discretion of the sponsor, so they can be folks who are very, very understanding, and there could be people who really just want to use their ego to, make people do whatever they want to do. So I like the way that you coined it, because it is a lot depending on the personality of the sponsor as to how successful that actual sponsorship will be. So.
Right. Absolutely. And so what we tell our carriers from the standpoint of hiring a driver out of the SAP, which is why we do a courtesy, they're going to stay for 30 days. Okay. They're going to probably stay longer. The majority of them much longer, simply because they don't have a driver that doesn't have a violation. They got the pick of the litter companies at their beck and call. Okay. He may have 50 options to choose from. A driver out of the SAP may have 5, maybe, if they're lucky.
Right, right. So I hear exactly where you're coming from with that, because you don't have everybody as an option at that point when you're going through a program and being rehabilitated. I did have a kind of like a follow-up question as far as the substance abuse professional. Like, I know you got your guy, Mr. Charles. Now,
Mr. Charles, yeah.
Is it a matter of of proximity? Like, Mr. Charles can only be a SAP for folks that are in his area, or could it be like, well, they saw your YouTube channel and they know that they want to go through whatever you got going on and they want to use your people, but they live in Alaska? What's the situation?
Yeah. So with that, due to COVID, the FMCSA has extended the online counseling through December 31st, 2021. Okay. And so any SAP is able to do an evaluation via Zoom with the driver. And so that's been in place since COVID, started. And so I don't know if they'll extend that again after December 31st, but right now it's a Zoom call, and you can be anywhere. Now, before that, I think you didn't have to have a jurisdiction per se. You just had to have a SAP who was qualified by the DOT and FMCSA. But that's a great question. Are you there, Jory?
Oh, dang. I was just talking it up on mute. All right. So, yeah, I was basically saying, that makes perfect sense. And I'm just happy that it's an opportunity, a chance that they might extend that. So, but yeah, I appreciate you for answering that question. I did want to know if there were other folks that had any questions. Please go ahead and raise your hands so that you can get those. I know that it's getting a little bit late.
Oh, no, it's good. One thing that I want to say, too, before we go into the question is, because I did mention this, is the insurance. And so that's one of the things that the first thing carriers want to know after they want to know how long the driver's going to stay with them. They want to know if it's going to affect their insurance and their CSA score. And so the answer is no. At this time, at this moment, I don't know what's going to happen after that SDLA, mandatory takes into effect November the 18th, 2024, when they have to comply. That insurance is not affected. The insurance looks at the driver's MVR, tickets, accidents, things like that. They do not look at the clearinghouse. Your CSA score, it's affected if the driver is driving while intoxicated or the driver is driving under the influence. That's when your CSA score is affected. So those two things are not affected.
Okay, yeah, those are great points. Thank you. Almost, thank you for bringing that up, because the folks need to know, because it is their, these fleet owners, it's their livelihoods, and the price, the premiums for insurance really matters. So
absolutely,
the fact that it doesn't, inherently increase their expenses because they're taking in a second chance person, somebody that's trying to return to duty. I think that is kind of like a win-win. You know that you're going to have somebody who is dependable. They got to be, it's like
Thanks.
they're doing so much in order to get back into the game that they're more focused than probably the average person.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the drivers that I get, I have a guy out of Buffalo, New York, who is on truck number 7, and 5 out of the 7, he's got 2 teams, are drivers out of SAP, and he essentially only because it's a different level of driver that you're going to get out of the SAP because they're humble. They come hat in hand, and they really come, like apologetic and ready to work because they understand that they don't have somebody needs them at home. So they got bills to pay, they got mouths to feed, and so they messed up. And a lot of them, trucking is all they know, And so, like the stories that I get, and a lot of people think that they're crackheads. That's the first thing that I get. Oh my God! And they're the majority of the violations, and the Clearinghouse has the numbers. They got the reports for every single month on their website that you can go and look at. The number one, and we all know, the number one drug of choice, 47,000, almost 48,000 violations, is marijuana. And then right below that is cocaine at like 12,000 violations. And then it's meth at like 7 or 8. But the thing is, the cocaine and meth and oxycodone, all of those drugs, they stay in your system a couple days, a week at most, maybe. Marijuana is the one that stays in driver systems the longest. And so that's the one that we see the most. CBD, oh my God, that's a big one. That's really, really prevalent out there.
Right. Because, with them CBD levels, everything wasn't done in a lab. So,
Exactly.
And especially you can get CBD products from a gas station now. So
exactly.
No telling what those are.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one thing we preach. Look, I don't care if they sell it at the truck stop. I don't care if your back hurts and you don't want to take Tylenol. Do not use the CBD cream, because I have hundreds of drivers that I've talked to that have had a violation because of CBD. Miss Jerri, all I was using was CBD. I had this bad back, and I had a guy with stage 4 cancer that called me like 2 weeks ago, and he was using a CBD oil. And I'm like, you just don't know the concentration of THC in the CBD, so you just got to stay away from it. And the first thing they say is, I don't smoke. Like, I don't smoke weed. I don't smoke CBD. I just use the cream. It's the same thing because it gets in your bloodstream.
Right. Yeah, man. To be honest, it's just everybody knows that in this industry, if you want to be behind the wheel, you got to be sober.
Yeah.
And that's I don't really have anything else to say about it except for those are the rules, bro. So
absolutely, that's the same exact thing I say. You got to be sober. That's the rule. That is the rule.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So what else? I mean, what else I don't want to just leave off something that's the the one stone that somebody needed unturned tonight to make their decision on whether or not they're going to be getting a return to duty driver. What else would you say? Are we missing anything?
So the 90,000 are the ones that got caught. Okay.
Right.
Those are the ones that got caught. There's probably triple that just haven't gotten caught. And so more are coming. And I just, like, for a carrier that wants to hire this driver, I've already said it doesn't affect your insurance. It doesn't affect your CSA score. Is there a cost associated with this driver? Yes, because they got to do a lot of drug screens. Okay. They got to do a lot of randoms and the follow-up tests and stuff like that. That's $65, $75 because they're all urine in most cases. Well, then, yeah, they're all urine. But the carrier that has the concern about paying all the money for the drug screens, this is what I tell them. take it out the driver's check. Take it out of their check. Like, they understand that, hey, I gotta pay some dues to get back in here, and maybe it is coming out the check. They understand.
Right. Well, appreciate you for bringing that up. I did want to make sure that folks use this opportunity to raise their hands. We did have one person. Let me see if they can join us on stage. But yeah, I just want to say, Miss Jerri, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and your recruiting experience with us. Just very, very appreciative. And at this point, I'm not sure if that person coming up.
I think Ebony.
Yeah, it was Ebony. That's what I was kind of looking for. All right, we have Ebony.
Hey, Ebony.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ebony Polk. I'm the owner of Polk Medical Testing Solutions in Bridgeton, Missouri, and I have the pleasure of working with Miss Jerri often, daily. I think we talk every day. I do all of her drug testing for drivers and trucking companies that she works for. So it's a privilege to just even work with her. Just all the knowledge that she gives me on a daily basis, not just about business, just inspiration and life stuff. I've learned a lot. I'm so happy to work with her, and I'm glad that I'm able to help people have a second chance, because I believe, not everybody, does this on purpose. Sometimes it is an accident. It can just be like a refusal to test, and they got in the clearinghouse, and now they have to pay all this money to get out of it. So I'm glad and I'm blessed to be a part of this journey that we're getting on to help these SAP drivers get to where they need to be.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on stage and for your help. Being of great help with Miss Jerri. You got to have great colleagues to be able to send folks to, know that they're going to be testing these drivers correctly and all that kind of good stuff. So I appreciate you. And if there's anything I can do to help you and what you got going on, you just let me know, because, that's the type of thing that I do. I help folks.
Yes, that's great. I didn't even know who you were until I seen Miss Jerri post a flyer. So I started following you on social media. I'm like, oh, I learned something today too. So I'm just happy to just, keep on, like you said, keep connecting with people and networking. So I'm a consortium for trucking companies and owner operators. So if anyone ever needs me or my services, you know where to find me.
All right. Appreciate you so much.
Yes. Ebony and her team is phenomenal. I've been working with her and LOG Transportation Consultants and Mr. Charles. They're our SAP team that bouncing ideas off of each other and, information, new regulations, anything that's coming out, we're on the phone talking about it. And so it's great to have a team. Ebony isn't only the consortium that I go to for SAP drivers out of the SAP, but she is my consortium for my trucking company that I co-own with my brother. And so, yeah, thank you, Polk Medical Testing.
You're very welcome.
All right. Were there any other questions this evening? If so, go ahead and raise your hands. But again, I just want to say, Miss Jerri, I knew from when I first met you at the She Trucking Expo, and I saw your table. I was like, oh, I know we're definitely going to have this conversation, because the people need to know, because there's so many people get kind of outcasted, thrown away, and that's just not right. So the fact that you are, this is your mission and your ministry, I'm just very, very happy to help you share it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Story. And if there is any carrier that wants to learn how to, because here's the thing, I can source you a driver all day, but my aim is to ensure that you know how to go out and source your own drivers, that you know how to share that you are a SAP friendly company. All you got to do is go Google SAP friendly companies, and you'll see that there are companies out there that are hiring these drivers. One mega one is US Express and Variant. They hire drivers out of the SAP program. I've seen hundreds over there. Okay. And you need to know how to hire these drivers because they're not going away. They're not going away. It's only going to quadruple. The numbers are going to quadruple. And so you need to be ready and prepared. And so November the 13th, next month, in a few weeks, in Houston, Texas, myself and Ebony with Polk Medical Testing, Letitia and LaShanta with LOG Transportation Consultants, and Mr. Charles and Camille, my good friend Camille with Rig on Wheels. We will be in Houston presenting everything. It's called the Everything Driver Conference. And so we're going to teach you driver recruiting. We're going to teach you how to process your drivers, how to onboard your drivers, how to retain your drivers. And Ebony and Mr. Charles are going to go into the SAP, and they're going to talk about the processes, how to process the SAP, how to work with your consortium. And so no one has really just had a conference just about the driver. Who is, by the way, whether you want to hire SAP or non-SAP, you're going to learn everything at that conference. But your driver is probably the most important aspect of your company. Your driver is your asset. If you don't have a driver, you don't have money, your truck ain't moving. And so let us teach you. And so you can learn about that on our Instagram at LOTR Recruiting, and on our website, www.lotrrecruiting.com.
Thank you. Well, with that being said, y'all, I think that we're going to go ahead and bring tonight to a close. Let me go ahead and turn off hand raising. Miss Jerri, thank you so much. I got to say it again, but if there's ever anything else I can do in this capacity or to promote what you got going on, you got my number. Just shoot me a text message. I am available. And we'll go from there. I just also want to say to the folks in the audience, man, the support that you guys provide every single week is greatly appreciated. This community is, that I want it to be a community where you feel as though you can reach out to the person who is, the picture to your left or right or above or below you, and know that you have somebody that is just as interested in transportation and logistics as you are, and possibly can be a resource for you, or you can be a resource for them. That's the type of community I'm fostering here. So with that being said, next week, tune in. We're going to have another brother that I met at the She Trucking Expo. No, that's a different time. It is next wek. Yeah, man, time is moving so quickly. Dang, we got brother Neil, Corey Neal. He's going to be talking to us about a lot of his different businesses and just trucking as a whole, selling those pieces of equipment. So yeah, man, time's just going by so quickly, y'all. As you can see, it just surprises me sometimes. But yeah, that's basically it. That's it for tonight. If you need anything from me, please reach out. And you can always catch us on Mondays at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're partnering with Freightways Sonar Team. They come on every single Monday and give us a lane game. They let us know which markets we should send our drivers into and which ones that we should stay out of. So if you're a dispatcher or fleet owner and you're looking for some guidance in the beginning of the week, you can always check us out there. So thank you again, Miss Jerri, and y'all have a blessed one. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.